10. Falling umbrella. A man in North Carolina was killed in 2008 by a falling umbrella. It was a bizarre freak accident that left a man named Dwayne Ward literally impaled by a patio umbrella. According to the police in Leland, North Carolina, it happened at his apartment complex swimming pool. The 32-year-old man was lying poolside, soaking up the sun without a care in the world. Then the umbrella fell on him. It hit him in the head, piercing his skull like an ice pick. The umbrella traveled through his brainstem, causing his brain to swell. Tragically, Ward's friend who was with him at the time thought he was faking it. He just thought the guy was joking around. But after a few minutes, he realized something was horribly wrong and called the police. Ward was taken to the New Hanover Regional Medical Center and put on life support. But shortly after, he passed away from his injuries. The apartment complex has since removed all of their beach umbrellas. The last thing anyone expects when lounging by the pool is to be killed by the very thing protecting them from getting a sunburn. 9. Fireworks in the hot tub. On the 4th of July in 2021, an amateur fireworks display went horribly wrong in the town of Novi, Michigan. It all started as a happy backyard celebration, part wedding and part national holiday. Attending the event was Matis Kivlenieks, goalie for the Blue Jackets. The party itself was being held at Matis's goaltending coach's house, Manny Lagaci. Matis was only 24 years old and had a lot to look forward to in life. He was a strong athlete, his future was looking bright, and he was a stellar hockey player. But all his dreams evaporated on the night of the party, when he was struck by a fireworks mortar shell while sitting in a hot tub. There are so many fireworks deaths every year, it's hard to even call this kind of thing a freak accident anymore. All the same, that's exactly what the police said it was. A freak accident in which the last of 9 mortar tubes that had been installed in a fireworks rack tilted the wrong way. It tilted down, pointing at the hot tub. When the firework went off, it hit Matis in the chest from 19 feet, 5.7 meters away, with enough force to end his life. 8. Recycled. In April of 2022, just after 6 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, a man in British Columbia, Canada, was crushed in a recycling truck. According to the local Penticton police, the 52-year-old had been sleeping in an unlocked recycling dumpster when the truck came late to take out the trash. The recycling truck scooped up the bin. They didn't check to see if anyone was asleep inside of it because why would there be? And then they dumped the recycling and the man directly into their compactor. What followed must have been a truly terrifying few moments for the man in the back. The driver of the recycling truck hit the button to start the compactor. He heard a scream from the back, but by then, it was too late. The sleeping man had woken up in a stinky pit of doom and was literally being crushed to death. The driver did call 911 and stopped immediately, but there was just nothing more they could do to save the man. He'd just fallen asleep in the worst possible place. 7. The border wall. In April of 2022, a woman decided she was going to cross the border the hard way. The woman, a native of Mexico, got the bright idea to scale the border wall. Her name hasn't been released for privacy reasons, but we do know she was 32 years old and seemingly desperate to get into the United States of America. On a Monday night, she approached the Mexican side of the wall opposite of Douglas, Arizona. She scaled the side of it using a climbing harness, but couldn't make it all the way down. She somehow got her legs stuck near the top. She was then hung upside down from her harness on the American side of the wall in Arizona. The Cochise County Sheriff's Office doesn't know exactly how long she was hanging there, but it was long enough that all the blood rushed to her head, and she eventually died. The Sheriff's Office called it a significant amount of time. And believe it or not, this wasn't the first time such a thing happened. Earlier in April, almost the exact same thing occurred in Texas. A migrant trying to scale the wall fell off the barrier and landed on US soil, but didn't survive the fall. He died at the hospital, while his friend, a migrant who had also fallen off the barrier near Clint, Texas, suffered a fracture to his right hand. The survivor was returned to Mexico by the Customs and Border Protection officials. 6. New Year's rice cakes. New Year's celebrations in Tokyo turned deadly when 4 women choked on rice cakes and died. According to the Tokyo Fire Department, all 4 of the women were in their 80s, and they all perished from choking on traditional mochi sticky rice cakes. These cakes are eaten at the beginning of every new year, but almost every year people die from it. In fact, between January 1st and January 2nd of 2022, 16 people were rushed to the hospital from choking on mochi. 11 of the hospitalizations were people in their 80s, while 4 of them were over the age of 90. Only one person who was hospitalized was under 40 years old. One of the victims, whose name has not been given for privacy reasons, was 88 years old. She was living on the outskirts of central Tokyo and was enjoying a traditional rice cake soup in her home first thing in the morning when she choked on it. This has become such a widespread problem that the Tokyo Police Department has put up tips on their website for how to help someone who's choking on mochi. The issue is that the traditional delicacy is so sticky it becomes lodged in people's throats. Authorities generally warn citizens not to eat them at all, or to at least cut these sticky cakes into smaller pieces. But despite the warnings, people continue to die every year just trying to eat the cake. 5. Raging Bull. At a bull running festival in Spain, a 55-year-old man bled to death. It happened in the town of Onda in the Spanish province of Castellon during their annual festival in 2021. Running with the bulls is a tradition in Spain, and one that frequently takes the lives of its participants. This particular death was the first since the pandemic caused the festival to be cancelled across most of the country. But with pandemic restrictions eased and people back out on the streets, Spain let the bulls loose. The man's name hasn't been released, and we don't know exactly what happened to him, but what little information we do have is enough to paint a pretty clear picture. We know the bull gored his leg with its horn, tearing into the flesh so deeply that he bled out. He was taken to the hospital, but it was too little too late. He must have wound up in the path of the bull and was too slow to escape, and it cost the man the rest of his days on Earth. He survived the horrors of the coronavirus pandemic, only to lose his life in a fight with a bull. 4. The worst selfie. In 2017, a free runner from Hampshire in the UK named Nye Newman died trying to take a selfie. The young man had travelled with his girlfriend and a group of their mutual friends to Paris for a vacation. They were on a train bound for the Eiffel Tower as part of their New Year's Eve celebration when Nye got the worst idea of his life. He wanted to climb between 2 train carriages to take a selfie doing something wildly dangerous. His idea killed him before he was even old enough to buy himself a drink at the bar. The death was completely accidental, but most certainly preventable. According to coroner Andrew Bradley, Nye suffered from catastrophic head injuries. It happened when he stuck his head out from between the 2 carriages and was smacked in the head by a very solid object at incredible speed. He never even had the time to get his phone out to take the selfie. His friend, a local French teen, undid the lock of the carriage using a skeleton key. Then Nye climbed out into the open, pulled himself up to look over the tops of the speeding trains, and his lights were knocked out immediately. It only took a split second. Nye probably never even realized what happened. He was just raising his head, and then everything just went black. 3. The deadly turnstile. A man in Queens tried to get a free ride on the subway in early 2022 and ended up dead. His name was Christopher de la Cruz, only 28 years old at the time of his bizarre and tragic death. He was at the Forest Hills and 71st Avenue train station early on a Sunday morning when he struggled to get his legs over the turnstiles blocking entrances to the trains. The whole thing was caught on security cameras, with the footage showing Christopher failing multiple times in his attempt to cheat the system. He kept getting his legs tangled. He moved from one turnstile to a different one, thinking it would be easier. He was extremely determined to get over the darn things. And finally, he gave it everything he had, flung his legs over the turnstile, and in this one move, he snapped his neck. After his death, Christopher was described by his family and friends as a vibrant and loving father who left behind a 4-year-old boy. A GoFundMe page in his honor raised over $16,000 to help out his family. But the truly sad part is that all of this could have been avoided if it simply paid the fare to get on the train. Or even if it just walked away after failing the first 5 times, instead of losing his life over some spare change. 2. Romantic vacation gone wrong. For Dr. Daniel Sirovich, a romantic vacation with his fiancée, Christy Kelly, proved to be the last good time he'd ever have. The doctor, who was living in Miami back in 2019, had initially planned to attend a music festival with Christie in England. But the rainy weather in the UK made them change their plans at the last minute. The couple decided to go for some fun in the sun in Spain instead. They travelled to Ibiza, and one of the first things they did was embark on a hiking trip. So far, nobody's made any stupid decisions. If anything, going for a hike in Spain was a perfectly sensible thing to do. The horrible decision came when the doctor walked off the trail to get a better look over the edge of a cliff. Then, as he was trying to take a risky picture on the edge of the abyss below, he stumbled on the uneven ground and fell 80 feet 24 meters to his death. What had started as a romantic trip up a mountainside devolved into horror as Christie watched her fiancé fall like a stone to the hard ground below. Christie was left in ruins, undoubtedly stricken by the terrible trauma of seeing her fiancé fall and die in such an unexpected and abrupt way. His family was also in tatters, with his mum telling people that she was devastated. The doctor was described as a beautiful soul and adored by everyone who knew him. 1 deadly plank of wood. In 2018, a young girl almost lost her life thanks to a falling plank of wood. In this terrible and ridiculous accident, 10-year-old Chloe Clark got a broken nose when a chunk of plywood broke off the roof of her home in Ardmore, Alabama. She'd been helping her father do some roof repairs when the evil plank got loose and fell. It hit her in the nose and she had to be rushed to the hospital. At first, everything seemed to be okay. She'd broken her nose but wasn't in any real danger. But then, the unimaginable happened. While on the road to recovery, bacteria from her sinuses leaked through a protective layer inside her brain and caused her to come down with spinal meningitis. A simple yet painful broken nose turned into a fight for her life, and she was sent to the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital in Nashville. According to what her father Jared told People, the piece of wood broke through the roof and a split second later, he heard a blood-curdling scream. Jared said he couldn't even describe the feeling inside him when he realized it was his daughter screaming. He said it was like the life got sucked out of his body. She went to the hospital, she got fixed up, and then came the spinal meningitis, then a coma, and a really stressful period in which it looked like she wouldn't make it. But in the end, Chloe did pull through and went on to make a full recovery. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be run down by an angry bull or crushed in a recycling truck? Let us know which one you think would be worse in the comments below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and come back again for more of the wildest videos on the internet. See you soon. Bye.